This is so funny. It's one of the most cringeworthy Fox News moments I've seen in a long time. And that's a very, very high bar to reach if you've ever watched Fox News. Fox News has this commentator or analyst named Katie Pavlich. Katie Pavlich is 30 years old. She's a, quote, conservative. And most importantly, she's extraordinarily ignorant. She kind of is a conservative star in a way. She was named Blogger of the Year by CPAC. She has all sorts of these low information propaganda books that right-wing audiences love. One called Fast and Furious, Barack Obama's Bloodiest Scandal and Its Shameless Cover-Up. Another book, Assault and Flattery, The Truth About the Left and Their War on Women. This is the type of thing that she has written. She's a totally irresponsible interviewer. She interviewed Andrew Pollack, who's the father of one of the victims of the Parkland school shooting on Fox News some time ago. The father falsely claimed that Democrats were registering criminals in Florida jails to vote. Pavlich didn't even challenge the claim, didn't say, how do you know that? Didn't say, well, do you have any evidence that that's going on? Completely irresponsible interviewer as well. So she appears on Fox News yesterday. And she makes the bizarre and obviously false and also just really dumb claim that America should be held up as a beacon of anti-slavery because we were the first country to end slavery within the first 150 years of being a country, which is both really specific, really irrelevant, and also wrong. I mean, it's just ridiculous in every sense. And this was so obviously idiotic that a fellow Fox News host, who I believe goes by Kennedy, and I don't know if Kennedy is her first name or her last name or both her first name and last name, I'm not really sure, or just kind of like a nickname, I'm not sure. Kennedy has to say, what the F are you talking about? Let's take a look at the video.
They keep blaming America for the sin of slavery, but the truth is, throughout human history, slavery has existed, and America came along as the first country to end it within 150 years. And we get no credit for that to move forward and try and make good on that.
Well, we did have a very bloody civil war
over that
and
issue.
We also, and the remnants
are a long time.
The racial history,
and
the remnants of the Civil War, particularly blacks in the South.
Correct.
Yes.
That was not an easy path. I mean, that was bloody and violent and deadly.
And there were Native Americans here when we showed up.
We're still, my point is that we were the country that decided to end it, and we're still dealing with the issue. But if you want to start a problem and to inflame racial tension even more, start blaming people who have nothing to do with slavery for the sin of slavery. That is not fair. That's not the American way, and we shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah, so we'll talk about America being the first country to ban slavery within 150 years of existence. But first of all, half the country wanted slavery and went to war to keep slavery and threatened to leave the Union over wanting to keep slavery. And the people who stick to that ideology today are all Republicans. They're all on the right, okay? So she's calling the banning of slavery in the U.S. an achievement, which it is. It's the right thing to do. Banning slavery is good. But it's one that was made by people who opposed the right wing of that time when we were going into the Civil War phase of the United States. And as Kennedy correctly points out, just because slavery ended, the path for black people in the United States remained difficult, to use her framing, an understatement, for a very long time. It created structural inequality that persists today. She says, don't blame people who have nothing to do with slavery for slavery. Okay, fine. What about recognizing that slavery was ended not because the U.S. decided to end slavery, but because the Union was able to defeat a huge portion of the country, which was the slave-owning South, which wanted to keep slavery legal? So that's part one. Now let's discuss her other claim that the United States should get credit for being able to so quickly ban slavery. It only took 150 years after the creation of the country. This information exists in history books, right? The timeline between independence and slavery for different countries is far shorter than in the United States. You can debate, well, what do we count as banning slavery? When you ban the slave trade, are you banning the owning of slaves? We could sort of find different data points, but there are countries that banned slavery before they were even really countries. Denmark is an example. Slave trade banned in 1803, didn't become its sort of original constitutional monarchy until 1849. Another example is my birth country of Argentina. Argentina banned slavery in 1853. It was founded in 1810. That's just 43 years between independence and ending slavery. So it's hard to sometimes even do an analysis of this stuff, Pat, because it's so obviously wrong, but it's also so obviously ignorant, and it's also so obviously irrelevant that it's stunning that it's even allowed to sort of go only mildly contested in the way that it often is.
Yeah, wrong, ignorant, irrelevant. I also wonder why she wants to even make this point. On the left right now in the Democratic primary, we're having a conversation about reparations for slavery. Julian Castro is making that a pillar of his campaign. And meanwhile, on Fox and Friends, we're talking about whether or not the United States deserves any credit for eventually ending slavery after a bloody civil war. So I think that's just the state of the country right now.
Yeah, and you know, the reparations conversation, you could be for or against reparations in 2019 and be a reasonable person and sort of have a sensible debate. You should be able to, without question, point out that Katie Pavlich is wrong by both the letter and the spirit of what she's saying. It's embarrassing, and most importantly, it's a dumb point, because when the United States banned slavery, half the country didn't want to and thought that it was worth going to war over keeping slavery. Incredible, irrational ignorance happening on Fox News daily. Make sure to follow The David Pakman Show on Instagram at David Pakman Show. While you're there, follow me at david.pakman. Quick break, and we will talk to Denise Hearn next. It will be a very interesting conversation. One of today's sponsors is Minds.com, a social networking platform that is committed to free speech, transparency, privacy, and fairly compensating content creators. It basically combines many of the features of sites like Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter in one platform. But Minds is trying to solve a lot of the problems that exist on major social networks. On Minds, you're not being spied on. You're not being tracked. Everything is encrypted and private. Minds as a company can't even see any of your personal data. You're not going to see a bunch of creepy ads showing you the same products you were just looking at on other websites. And unlike other major social networks, the code that runs Minds.com is publicly available. It provides total transparency and the ability for developers to even contribute to the project themselves. For example, on many other social platforms, you're only reaching a tiny fraction of your followers organically. But on Minds, the news feed is 100% organic, and you can see for yourself how the algorithms actually work. Every time you do something on Minds, like create content, share, like someone else's content, you earn Minds tokens, which can be used to boost the visibility of your own content. You are getting rewarded for participating in and contributing to the network. And Minds offers a feature kind of like Patreon, where your fans can unlock your premium content by sending you Minds tokens. I encourage you to go check it out at Minds.com. There's also a mobile app, and you can actually follow The David Pakman Show on Minds at Minds.com/David Pakman Show. I've also put a link right underneath this video.